Hello and welcome. We have kicked off literally just as Jack's walked through the door, bless him. Apologies to you, Jack, for just throwing you straight in there without even a hello. But thank you for jumping on. Literally, I saw him go just as the introduction was coming on, so I thought, why not? He's ready to go. So here we are. Welcome once again. It's going to be another great evening, I'm sure. And we did it. We managed to find one. It was late, transfer deadline day-esque, but we did manage to find a West Ham fan. See, they do exist. It's brilliant. So good stuff. We are very much looking forward to this. As you can see today, we have got Super Danny B just over there to my left-hand side. Lovely to have you back on. Obviously, bottom right-hand corner, we've got Stu Woolley joining us once again. And of course, as we say, not just a West Ham fan, but an accredited journalist as well. So a guy we like to think knows what you're talking about just below us here, Mr. Jack Hobbs, friend of Mia Claydon, if you've ever been over on the women's channel as well. So people that we like and respect. That's what we're after. So lots to talk about, lots to get through, and we would like to do that straight away. So, Dan, I mean, you literally just mentioned it. We were talking about the Wolves game, how topsy-turvy that was. How do you see a game like that and the result that we had helping us as we move into this game tomorrow? Because already Eric Ten Hag saying, you know, that it shows a resilience and that we're showing that we've got a little bit of fight and a little bit of bite back in us. Do you see that? Because I'm sure I saw you tweet that, you know, you're feeling like maybe this could be the turning of the corner. But is it just another full story?
Yeah, I think, like I said previously, there's been so many false dawns over the past decade, pretty much, and you feel like, we've really turned a corner there, and every time they seem to prove me wrong. So I just felt like this season we've blew that many leads, especially in the Champions League, where we're a couple of goals up, then we concede a couple, and we draw games or we lose games, and just to get that winner at the end just kind of felt like it was something different. It showed to me definitely that the players are playing for the manager, which is obviously very important. But for me, it did feel like, you know, it was a big thing that we won that game. But like Stu said, you know, it's the proof's in the pudding tomorrow against West Ham. Can we carry that on? And can we push on from there? Who knows, really? You know, like I say, we don't know what United were getting from 45 minutes to 45 minutes. Never mind 90 to 90. So who knows?
No, absolutely, you're not kidding. And Stu, again, I mean, Ten Hag was quite bullish, I think, with some of the remarks that he's made, saying that the people on the outside don't know what's going on the inside. Does it feel to you maybe a little bit like we're starting to see that old siege mentality, that whatever's going on outside is irrelevant, what we do inside is what matters, and that obviously then cultivates a good team spirit? Is that just what we need as we move into this game on Sunday?
Well, it should always be that way anyway. It should always be a siege mentality. You should always concentrate on what's going inside your club first, and then not really worry about all the waffle that. And I work in the press anyway, so whatever we spout on a weekly or a daily basis. The problem that he's had, I think, not only has inherited quite a few posers within the squad, he's also inherited a bunch of babies as well. And it's difficult to manage posers and babies. And I've always said there's two types of football players. There are ones that think they know everything, and there are ones that listen. And we've got more that think they know rather than more than think they listen. And this is a big issue. Actually, you know, it happens in all levels of football, right across the age group, right across the span that you may or may not play in. And you've always got 2, 3, 4 who love to do step overs, who love to do this, who love to do that, and actually forget the basics of football. What Eric Ten Hag is trying to bring back is the basics of football. And we've got a few now that want to kind of, I'm not going to say play his style of play, because ultimately, you know, it always makes me laugh really when people say, well, you know, got to have a style of play. And I was like, well, what is a style of play? Well, you know, we attack from the front. I said, yeah, but they're still passing the fucking ball to a team member. So to tell me what the style of, what are you looking for? You're looking for somebody to chop his leg off and, you know, use it like a hockey stick. Because football is a very simple sport. I'm a very analog person. I'm a point and shoot type of guy, and that's what football is. And Jack will probably, he may disagree, but I think he probably won't. David Moyes is a point and shoot manager. That's how he is. He's very, very straight to the point. And Eric Ten Hag is very, very similar to that. And he's got to kind of push this influence on. And so you've got to protect the likes of Maino, Forson, Kwabala, all these younger talents that we've got right now. You've got to kind of protect those, and you've got to dispense with the noise and a song and dance of an Anthony and a Rashford type of thing at the moment, and almost go back to basis. So if he wants to put this siege mentality in, the only problem is, Baz, when people are talking about that, they think of the Sir Alex Ferguson days. Well, you're never going to see that again at all. Agents, modernism in football won't allow it. And this is one of the biggest problems. So I think it'd be quite interesting. I found the Wolves game fascinating. From a neutral point of view, B, from a United fan, and C, purely from a footballing perspective. And people are talking about the way that we went about our job and the way that we created chances. Yeah, we created chances or not, and everybody's saying, "Wow, Mino's goal was absolutely brilliant." And then you're having conversations with people, and they didn't actually see exactly what happened and why Maino was allowed to make that space. And that was him. So when he did that little nutmeg, he takes a ball in from Forson, just a nutmeg, he cuts across the defender, and that's his 2 yards that he needed. And this is that's the type of football you can't teach. That's almost embedded in your DNA. And so, look, I loved it anyway. The Luton and Newcastle game today, another absolute belter. This is what football's all about. It's what we like. So, siege mentality, difficult. But it'll be interesting to see how we approach the game Sunday. They're going to attack. Well, we'll talk through what West Ham are going to do, surely, I would imagine. So.
Well, I'm sure we will. We've got someone who's got a slightly better idea of it than I think we would do. Jack, again, thanks for joining us, mate. The guy's a legend. He's literally here on his break. So he's giving up his time whilst he's working. So fair play to the guy for giving us the time that you have. But I mean, for you guys, we're sitting here on the crest of a wave almost, having managed to somehow get that victory against Wolves. But for you guys, it's not been necessarily the best couple of games that you've had. West Ham drawing against Bournemouth, drawing against Sheffield United, the loss to Bristol City. It's been a bit of a tricky one. Where do you see your club at the moment going into this game tomorrow?
Well, first off, thank you for having me, gents. Pleasure to be here. I'd agree. We're not in the best place at the minute. I think, as you mentioned there, our form isn't great. We've not won a game this calendar year, and the performances haven't been great. I'll put it to you, really. So yeah, we're not in the best of form, and obviously Old Trafford is a very, very hard place to get points, as we all know. And your performance against Wolves, I think there were some massive positives, and I think if you play like that against us and the way we're playing, if we continue that form, it's not going to be very pretty for my viewing. It might be for yours, but I must say I'm not entirely confident in the way that we're playing at the minute. I think we've been hampered by injuries. I mean, Lucas Paqueta is a massive miss. I think we've forced Bowen back a little bit too early. Obviously, we missed Kudos as well, and it's not been great. So hopefully things start to tick a little bit more. But I think the way things are going, I think it's going to be damage limitation for us tomorrow.
I mean, I don't want to mention the fact that I haven't won this calendar year. I read that and I did write it down, but I thought I won't go in too deep too quickly. But yes, it's December the 28th was the last one, so it's not ideal. But David Moyes still doing some good things there, I think, and we will get to David Moyes, I'm sure. So let's get to the lineups, what we're thinking is going to happen. Dan, looking at the press conference that not David Moyes, he's the other side, that's Eric Ten Hag gave. Sofiane Amrabat, he was back in training today, obviously coming back after losing out in Morocco in the AFCON. Still no Malacia, Still no Mount. We're not expecting to see Mount until at least the end of the season, really. Victor Lindelof has been training, but no Wan-Bissaka, he doesn't think either. What do you think we could be looking at with regards to a lineup going into this game tomorrow? Because I'm not convinced I would change it too much from the Wolves game.
Yeah, I think honestly, it's not like we've got multiple cups to be playing in. We've got, it's not like we've got Champions League to worry about, things like that. I'd just go as strong as you can every game. Honestly, I wouldn't change the starting lineup tomorrow from Thursday night. I think I know Rashford and Shaw maybe got a bit tired in the second half against Wolves, but I'd go full strength, go for it. And like Jack's just said, West Ham aren't in great form either. I was quite surprised actually when I looked into their recent results, actually, like that they hadn't won. I thought they were doing better than that because of where they are in the league. So I do think they are there for the taking tomorrow, and I think as long as we play anywhere near where we played in the first half against Wolves, we should be all right tomorrow. But for me, I would just stick with the same team.
Which Dave agrees with as well. And again, for West Ham, 4 draws, 1 defeat. So, I think that's the thing. They've been ticking over, and it's not like the people outside of the top 4 have really been putting up trees. They've had some dodgy score lines as well. So just sort of ticking on, I think. Stu, I've got 2 questions for you on this one. Same question I've just asked Dan. But also, when he was speaking about Wan-Bissaka, he said he's not likely to be back for Sunday. Then they asked what was wrong, and they said he's got, it's his leg. And then they asked what's wrong with his leg, and they said it's a personal problem. Now, I've never heard of a personal problem in a leg before. Any idea? Could you speculate as to what a personal problem in the leg might be? Because I'm fascinated by that as an answer. You're muted, mate. That's a personal problem with vocal cords.
Sorry, I was trying to be polite for once. As we got guests, on normal occasions I wouldn't be. I'd have chimed in. I don't know what it could be. He's got a leg injury of some description. Maybe he was fooling around with his missus and she's caught him with a ring. I don't know. God only knows. Who knows what could have happened with him? A bit of a shame because I think Cresswell's a bit of a problem, or could well be a problem during the game. He operates very, very similar to the way Luke Shaw does for us, and he's underlapping and he's overlapping. I expect, Jack will tell us, but I expect West Ham to set up in a 4-3-2-1 type system. So it's almost, we're going to match up, although we go 4-3-3, do occasionally go 4-3-2-1. So I think you'll match us up. I think he's right. I don't think Bowen is firing quite yet. I think he's still injured, or he's definitely not fit. You got a very weak Calvin Phillips still. So I think we keep the same team. We use Mino, Casemiro and Bruno to play around their middle 3 of Phillips, Souček, and remind me, Jack, who the third one's likely to be?
Probably Alvarez.
Alvarez, that's it, yeah. So I think our short game is better. I don't think our long game will work so much so well, because you're pretty strong, you're pretty big at the back, apart from Cresswell. He's just tiny, isn't he? But I presume Zuma plays, so you're quite strong, you're quite powerful at the back. So I think our short game in and around Phillips, getting out wide, if we can draw Cresswell out and the right back, I think we've got a chance of getting in that way. I think if we start playing counter-attacking football, I don't think it'll work for us. I think we need to be on the front foot with that. So, but the problem with Wolves was our ball retention wasn't great, and our transition wasn't great for periods of the game. I don't think we'll have too much problems with Bowen up there on his own. Is Kudus back, is he, Jack? Yeah.
Yeah, Kudus is back. He started against Bournemouth.
So it'll be Kudus and Ward, Prowse, and I presume, in behind.
Yeah, I think so.
So our challenge will be, certainly for Casemiro, certainly for Martinez, be making sure we don't give any stupid free kicks away 20, 25 yards out, because you could easily get punished. And we have a tendency of doing that. But not every team has a James Ward-Prowse. You may not do everything well in the game. You get him a free kick, get him a corner, you get him a set piece, is a problem. So we need to be mindful of that. So I would imagine Ten Hag stays with it. I totally agree with Dan. I don't think we change it. But we've got a lovely bit of quality to come on if Ericsson needs to come on. If we need a bit more aggression in there, you can bring Amrabat in. Someone who's just going to chase the game for the last 20, 25 minutes. Ericsson with a bit of guile. If we're, trying to eat, it's 0-0 with 25, 30 minutes to go. I think we've got enough on the bench. I tend to agree with Jack. I think Paquetá is a huge miss. Big problem for them. Antonio, is he not fit?
No, Antonio is he's still out injured. He was supposed to come back, I think, mid-January and then faced a setback. I think he slipped in training. So
okay.
Yeah.
So I suppose it's testament to West Ham and David Moyes' good work that they are where they are. As you quite rightly say, they haven't won this calendar year. I don't think they haven't won, have they, since when was the last win, Baz?
December the 28th.
Right, December the 28th. So we're in February now. But we're in no great shapes ourselves. We've only beaten Newport County, and we've just got over the line against Wolves. So I think it'd be an interesting matchup, and I think it'd be won on points. And I just think we'll just get over the line. There'll be no knockout blow, I don't think. I think it'll be a very tight game, and it'll be a goal on the side that'll take it. I don't see a draw. I see both teams scoring, but I think we'll get over the line somehow. I'll give my score prediction later, but you probably guessed it anyway.
We should also remember that the win on the 28th of December was not just any old win, it was a 2-0 win against Arsenal away from home as well. So
yes, it was. But the interesting thing for us as well, Baz, don't forget, is we will leapfrog West Ham if we do that. So that will be quite interesting. The other thing, sorry, Baz. The other thing I thought was really interesting is that I was looking back at West Ham's history, and Moyes in particular. He used to play three at the back, didn't he, for a while, Moyes? And then all of a sudden, whether or not it's a personnel issue, and if that is the case, then you can kind of understand where Erik ten Hag's coming from. I don't have the personnel to do what I want. So Moyes has quite clearly got this issue. He hasn't got the personnel to play how he wants. So it's quite interesting, really, in football. But anyway, sorry, I digress.
No, that's fine, mate. No problems at all. So, Jack, I suppose from your side of things, it looks like you could have Vladimir Kufal back. So a decision to make there between him and Ben Johnson. Going to be intrigued to see your thoughts on Calvin Phillips. Does he start with him again after giving away the ball to Solanke within minutes of his start? Will Danny Ings be put in instead? I don't know. No Paqueta, no Antonio, as you just mentioned as well. Ben Rama's still suspended. Obviously, Fornals looks like he's been ratified now, definitely gone. Yep, so no Fornals either. How do you see your team lining up for the game against United, and is there any places you think you could sort of really take advantage of some of our weaknesses, like James Ward-Prowse with set pieces against a side that can't defend set pieces like us?
Yeah, I think there are definitely some areas we can get at you, and I'll get onto those after I've sort of given my team predictions. I think there's what I think and there's what I hope. And I'm really hoping that we don't play four central midfielders again. But I have the feeling that we will. So I think we're going to stick with four at the back. I think Johnson will keep his spot over Kufal. I think Johnson is, after a very ropey period, is starting to come back into the form that we knew he was capable of. He's definitely playing for a new contract. And I think at the minute he's deserving of it. So I think he should be given the nod over Kufal. Give him a little bit of a rest as well. Mavropanos, Suzuma will probably stay. I think Emerson will be at left back. I hope Cresswell's at left back because if he is, whoever's on the right wing for you will have a field day.
He's great going forward, isn't he, Cresswell? He's not brilliant at the back. We have that issue with Dallo, to be brutally honest with you.
Yeah.
At right size, we have an issue with him. His positional plays, it's woeful. It really isn't. But Cresswell's a really good delivery. He's got great delivery, Cresswell has. And that's what you got to work out. Do you want a defender first and foremost, which I think you should as a fullback. Mm-hmm. But then you take away the delivery that Cresswell offers. He's a hybrid player, isn't he?
Yeah. I think that's another reason we brought Ward-Prowse in, because Cresswell, delivery-wise, was priceless, but just he's 33, 34 years old now. And at left back, he was just getting rinsed quite a lot. So I think that's why Ward-Prowse came in. He's obviously a great player, but then it takes a responsibility away from Cresswell, and then Emerson could come in. But I think Emerson will get the nod. Like I said, I would be hoping that we revert to two defensive midfielders, so Souček and Alvarez, then Ward-Prowse in front of him. I'd then be hoping for Kudos on the left, Bowen on the right, and then Danny Ings up top, because Ings actually had a pretty decent couple of cameos in his last two appearances. Trying to sort of turn it around a little bit, and I think it gives us more of a focal point, because like we said, Bowen's not firing all cylinders. Maybe him and Kudos being fluid on the wings will, bring a bit more freedom, a bit more form back to him. But like I said, I do think that Moyes is going to ignore my wishes anyway. He's going to stick with four midfielders, and I think Phillips will get the nod. Not that I'm disappointed about Phillips playing. I just don't think the four midfielders worked as we saw against Bournemouth. It was interesting. Let's put it that way. Areas that we can get at United, I'd be saying, like you said, set pieces. Definitely. I think Ward-Prowse hasn't scored a free kick yet, and it'd be pretty fitting if he did it at Old Trafford. It'd be reminiscent of a certain Dimitri Payet. It'd be nice for us to see that at last. And then I think Kudos is where our main danger is going to come from. I think his pace on the counter attack, and the way he just gets that ball and drives at defenders, they're just terrified of him. And I think he did that against you when we won 2-0 at home in the reverse leg. He did that with great effect. So I'd be saying that's where the areas we can get at you from. So Kudos on the counter, and then Ward-Prowse's set pieces. Hopefully Mavropanos or Zuma get on the head of it.
Fair enough. Fair points indeed. Dan, we're going to go back round to some of the players that have already played. It was, again, very interesting looking at the Ten Hag presser, because he said that obviously he was very pleased with how we were doing. He also said that Forson, Diallo and Rashford can all play in that number 9 position. That he needs to be a bit more creative with what they do there. We got a lot of goals in that game against Wolves. That to me was the key thing. We had 4 clear-cut chances and we scored 4 goals. And when you start looking at statistics like that, you get all excited again. But it's just one game. You can't hang your hat on that. In terms of our attacking options, we've just spoken about the set pieces from Jack and West Ham. We know that defensively we're going to be a bit more frail. But are we seeing signs that our attack is getting a little bit more bite about it?
Yeah, the one thing that I really noticed from the Wolves game was that there wasn't as much greed from the wingers. They were cutting the ball back. They were trying to put balls into the box. And I've said on the show previously where Højlund was always making the right runs. You could tell he knew where to be. He knew where he was going. He was darting for the near post run. He was going to he was making all the right runs, and them chances were going to come as long as people were providing for him. And I think that's what we're starting to see now. There's a bit more cohesion up front. Don't get me wrong, you still get, Rashford turning in and shooting from 30 yards. Anthony's going to do it as well. But I definitely think with Garnacho especially, that I noticed he was cutting the ball back. He was putting balls into the box. And I think the more cohesion up front, and that's, again, why I would kind of stick with the same team, because these players are going to get used to playing with each other, and they're going to get used to what runs Højlund's going to make. They're going to get used to what runs Rashford's going to make. And they're all going to get that telepathic know-how of where everyone's going to be. And I think surely that's just going to create more chances.
Seems fair to me. And still, I'm going to cut away from that to be a question that I wasn't expecting to actually ask just a minute ago. But I remembered that I saw these stats as I was scrolling through X, as you do. And since we put Garnacho out on the right, we're seeing some real good numbers from him. Sky Sports released it, saying since he moved to the right wing on Boxing Day, he is 8th in terms. I'm not going to do expected assists because they're rubbish, but he's 9th in terms of chances created. He's 1st in terms of one-on-ones attempted. He's completed half of those, which has left him 3rd. This is in all positions, and he's won possession the 3rd most times in the final third of any other player since Boxing Day. And for a youngster, again, we talk about Kobbie Mainoo, and I'm sure we're going to talk about him again. But Garnacho proving that really whether he goes on the left or the right, he can be equally as effective. And that's got to be good news for us, especially when we're struggling at the moment to get someone who can really nail down either of those spots.
He's been interesting the last few games, absolutely. He's still got that frustration level though, because he's still got that youthful exuberance where his brain and his feet disconnect totally when he's got the ball. So there are occasions where he should be looking after the football, almost playing hide and seek with it, when he's overrunning it that 2 or 3 yards. Any good defender of quality will be expecting a 2 or 3 yard gap, bang, and he's going to be in on you. So when he's having to do that, he's having to stretch to kind of go inside to then start playing a ball. Problem is he's off balance as well. So when you're stretching to go inside, you don't regain your balance. You got 2 defenders coming left and right at you. So some of the balls you've seen that are wayward are based on his balance. But he'll learn all that. He's a 19-year-old, 18-year-old kid. He will learn that. Where he's really effective is when he thinks, when he engages his brain first and allows the ball just to roll nice and easy. So and what I mean by that, he's not thinking about what he's doing with his feet. He's allowing that just momentum to carry the ball. And then when he suddenly, has a quick look up or makes a decision on what he wants to do, that's when your brain connects with your feet, and that's when you push the right delivery through. So he's getting there with it. He's a lot better than what he was. What's happening with Højlund at the moment, and Dan's right, Højlund's getting in the areas. He's sometimes getting there a little bit too late, or he's getting there a little bit too early. And what he hasn't worked out is the speed differential over 10 or 15 yards between him, Garnacho and Rashford. He's got to work on that. He's got to understand, if I've got to give Rashford 2-3 yards for me then to arrive at the crucial point of cross, I'll do that. And he can do that in training. It's dead easy to do. You line 3 up, you push him off every 20 yards, and you make your calculations to what he needs to do. And it's sounds a bit stupid. I know it does, but it's kind of the basics of football. It's knowing and understanding. His centre forward play right now, Højlund, is terrific. The goal that Rashford scored, if you watched Højlund's little dart forward, received the ball, little drag, then push. So he was always right side of where he needed to be, where he wanted to be. Lays the ball off to Rashford. Rashford skillfully uses it. I think we'll get a pen off Zuma. I think Zuma's a little bit clumsy. I think he's a very good defender, great in the air, big, strong. But I think Højlund, if I'm Højlund, I'm looking at Zuma. Not so much, is it Mariappa, is it? No, not Mariappa, sorry.
Mavropanos,
sorry. I wouldn't be looking at him. I'd be looking to push myself onto Zuma if it was me. And I'll be trying to elbow him. I'll try and get him off his game, get him angry and upset. And I think he'll climb all over Højlund, because Højlund started to utilise his strength a lot more, a lot better. His goal on Sunday was textbook centre forward play. People were saying, he got lucky, etc., etc. You don't get lucky. Not if you're in there. You don't get lucky. You make your own luck. And he got that foot on as he dove across, and he was on the floor, and he went in. His face was up. That's it. That's a centre forward's goal. We haven't seen that since Ruud van Nistelrooy. The way that he used his body to get in, and Wolves defenders, Max Kilman, I rate him really, really highly. He's a great player. So, in answer to your question with Garnacho, if we could just engage his brain a little bit more, but it's the same with Højlund. So you've got this connection, and the same with Rashford to an extent. Rashford was more alive due to the fact that he got Shaw back to help him and support him. So it kind of almost have that breath of fresh air that I'm okay. I've got Shaw there. He's a kind of a steady guy. Garnacho's, when you got Dalot behind you, it's like, is he cut inside? Has he got inverted? And have I then got to run back the whole length of the pitch? Or is he behind me? So I'd just like to see him engage his brain a bit more. But I thought he played really, really well. He obviously didn't get a goal. It didn't look like he was going to score, actually, Garnacho on Thursday. But he's making the danger element. So he's going to cause Emerson problems, because Emerson's going to be thinking, am I going to get forced back, or am I going to be able to push forward? Great conundrum for both of them. If you remember Tottenham, 2 youngsters going at it, and Doggy and Garnacho, absolute terrific scrums. It was like two Jack Russells going at it. They're both short, they're both wiry. Two Jack Russells going at it. I don't know too much about Emerson Jack, so maybe you could fill us in on him, whether he's a stocky player or, you know, he's a good delivery, better defender and stuff. But if I was Garnacho, I'd be testing him early doors. As soon as I get that ball, I'll be at him. And I'd want to see what he's going to do. You know, is he going to send me wide or is he going to allow me to cut in? So it'd be interesting. I hope that answers your question, Baz. I went about it in a bit of a...
You did. We went via C&D as ever, Stu, but I expect nothing less from you, my friend.
Sorry,
Nothing
mate.
less.
Jarvis in the comments. Good old Jarvis and Big Z. Welcome all.
Just said hello to them both. And Jack, over to you for your little West Ham prowess. Talking again about your goal scorers this season. I mean, Jared Bowen obviously top with 14, Kudus with 10, Souček with 8. You've had some good goal scorers. Do you see your attack? I mean, you mentioned Ward-Prowse being able to potentially provide a bit, and he is your top assist maker with 10. But do you see your attack being able to really take advantage of our defence? Because we've conceded the second most amount of goals of any team in all competitions, with only Sheffield United worse than us. So that must give you some hope that even if you haven't won a game this calendar year, maybe this weekend could be your one. I hope it's not, but you know, if I was you, I'd be licking my lips.
I mean, now that you say it like that, that does give me a little bit more confidence than I did think. But it just completely depends on how we line up, because a lot of times, and I've noticed this recently, especially when we line up to play United away, Liverpool away, especially those two teams, that Moyes seems to have given up before he's even started. And the team selection usually shows that. So it depends how we line up. But I think if we do it properly, then there are goals to be had, like you've said. I think Ward-Prowse's delivery especially is going to be key to that. I think if we get one, then we might get a couple more. But I know that sounds a bit silly, but if we score one, I don't think it would just be one. I think we'd then use that momentum to maybe exploit a bit more, and then maybe just open you up a little bit. But I think we either score a couple or we don't score at all. So it just depends what West Ham turns up that day, because we've seen it throughout the season where some games we've been electric attacking wise. We've been amazing. We've scored bundles of goals in games where we can't hit a barn door. And it literally just depends on who turns up and who takes their chances. And hopefully Danny Ings starts to do that. Doubt he will, though.
The Daniel Ings. I'm quite happy with Ings. I think you're right. It's Souček Kudus for me, Ward-Prowse. We can get all the Kudus, whether it be via Leacher, Martinez, or via Casemiro. I know if I was on that pitch, I'd make sure I'd make a beeline for him. If I was playing the centre midfield or centre half, I'd make a beeline for Kudus. I'd see what he's made of as a man, just to see, you know, because of what he did to us at the away leg. He destroyed us. Did he play full game or did he come on that one?
I think he started that game. I think with him, as like you were saying with Emerson, like you're not so sure about him. Both him and Emerson are very deceiving players. So you think they're wiry and you get knocked off, but they're not. They're very strong. Like Paqueta as well. You can see Paqueta will hold up about 3 people and then do a rainbow flick over them. Like he's got that deceptive look about him where he can just hold someone up and then find a way past them. So I think if they're going to do that, they're going to have to do it properly. Because if they go in thinking they're going to push him over, it's going to be a shock when he doesn't go over and then he tries to meg him and then runs up to the other end.
But to be fair, that's what you want as a player. You know, if you're a centre half or a centre midfield, you go in, you see where it lands, basically. And then, you know, strangely enough, it shapes your game. And the good thing about that is if he does shake off Leacher, he does shake off Casemiro, they will shape their game and it'll be a different story next time. For Kudus, he won't. He has to say, right, you know, because you're right, his pace and his abilities, his dribbling ability at pace is something special. It really is. He's tremendous at it. You know, he keeps it very, very tight to his feet. He knows where it is at any one time, and that's really quite key. But you got to test him, haven't you? You know, you got to test him out, see what he's like. If he falls, and we can chop him down like a tree, great. But if we can't, then you got to reassess, you know, how you deal with him. So
absolutely. Well, I was digging out some of the old stats. I like to have a little butchers and see what's been going on. I'm a big fan of the old goal scoring charts, and I thought I'd have a little look at those to see how the 4 goals scored against Wolves would affect that. And very interesting, in fact, because Marcus Rashford is now, I think, just 3 goals away from Tommy Taylor's record of 131, which is obviously achieved more quickly. He only played 191 games, obviously, in his 6 years before passing away. And with Munich just around the corner, it's a very, very sort of poignant moment to be mentioning that, really. But yes, only 3 goals away from Tommy Taylor in the top 15, which was very, very interesting. Rasmus Højlund has scored the exact amount of goals that Anthony has in about 41 games less. So just throw that one out there. Kobbie Mainoo has scored as many goals as Jemba and Paul Parker. And even again, in a lot less games. So it's 2. There's not a lot you can do with 2, to be honest with you, but 2 fantastic goals. I'm sure he scored a better goal than either of them ever managed as well. And Scott McTominay is 1 goal away from being in the top 100 goal scorers for Manchester United. Basically, Park Ji-sung level. And we're all big fans of Park Ji-sung. And that's why I way into the midfield, Dan. Talk to me about the midfield. How's that going to look? Because surely, with everything that Mainoo did against Wolves, he's got to start, surely. Do we start with a Casemiro again? Ten Hag admitted in the press that he was taken off because of the fact he was worried he was going to get a red card, especially after giving away the penalty and the yellow card early in the first half. What do you see happening? And Fernandes, I mean, apparently he's rejected a deal during the winter transfer window to go to Saudi. So, we're in a situation where the rumours are going around that that's what he's done. And if that's the case and he's shown his loyalty, that's quite a thing as well. So, talk to me about the midfield. What are you expecting there?
Yeah, I think, like I said earlier, same team as Thursday night for me. But I just think Casemiro and Mainoo together, for me, they're the dynamic we need. Mainoo, there was a lot of pressure on him coming into the team. Without Casemiro, there was a lot of pressure put on his shoulders, whereas now there's both of them together. He can learn off Casemiro. Mainoo's already looking the real deal as it is, and obviously with a lot more game time, a lot more experience, and like I said earlier, in terms of the front three as well, where if they play more together, they all get to know where each other are on the pitch. They get to, that telepathic, thing going on where they all know where each other are. And as far as Bruno goes, I thought he was probably a bit off against Wolves. I didn't think he necessarily had a great game, but he should always be on the team sheet for me. He's always got that spark that we maybe need, but he'll never stop running. He'll never stop trying. And for, the McTominay thing as well. And as much as I do like McTominay and he is a youth player and all that kind of stuff, I don't necessarily think he's a starter for Manchester United. I think if we have a fully fit squad, our midfield 3 should be Casemiro, Mainoo, Bruno, and then you have McTominay to come off the bench as an impact sub, get you a goal if you need a goal when he comes on, or if you need to try and see out a game. He's good from set pieces, clearing corners away and things like that, although we can't defend set pieces, but you know what I mean. But no, I think the midfield 3 for tomorrow should just be the same as Thursday. I think we'll expect probably a decent matchup, like Stu says about Kudos as well. I think we need to be, following track and runners, which I think obviously happens a lot more when Casemiro's in the team, because we've seen that not happen when he wasn't playing. But no, I think same 3 as Thursday night.
Absolutely. I think that seems fair. And I know it's not the midfield, Stu, but Dave's saying he'd like to see Ahmad showing his skills sooner rather than later, which I'm sure there's a few of us that would like to see that. But I find it hard to disagree with what Dan's just said, but we'll give it a go. Do you disagree with anything that Dan's just said there with regards to the midfield?
Nope, not at all, really. I can be short and sweet on this one, really, for once. No, I don't. I think having Casemiro back is ideal for Mainoo. What I like about Mainoo is he has this kind of invisible shield, a 5-yard shield around him. You ever watch him when he takes the ball? He stands in space and makes sure that when he receives the ball, he's in space. It's phenomenal to watch, really. And he glides wonderfully up and down the pitch. It's great. You also saw Casemiro come back to his kind of policing of our back four and his policing of the midfield. So he did kind of venture forward a little bit, but he was always there to cut. A really good central midfield player is always central and will always jog 2, 3, 4, 5 yards, stop, look at where the play's unfolding, and then make a decision where he increases his gain or he stays put. That allows you to then drift from left to right for the 5 or 6 yards that you need to do to cover it. So Casemiro does that well. That allows Mainu to operate in a more free role alongside him in a kind of semicircle kind of shape. And then you've got our good old mate Bruno. Dan was absolutely right. I'm not quite sure where we are with Bruno at the moment. His ability to affect a game of football. We know he's got it in his locker, and he's done it for years with us now. He's in his 4th year, isn't he? Just coming up to his 4th year anniversary, I think. So we know what he's got in his locker. He just needs to maybe take a deep breath again and re-find, his position and his place in the team. No, that's it really for me. I think Dan summed it up eloquently. I couldn't really add much to it, Dan. You made me think. Think about what I needed to say.
Nearly made Stu speechless, which has never happened in the history of AFU. So keep going, mate. You might get there. Slightly different, very different sort of question for you. Obviously, you're 6th at the moment with the 36 points. We're 1 behind in terms of points. Obviously, Brighton have just managed to jump in front because they've got a positive goal difference, which is something we can only dream of currently. Of course, we score 4 against you. We'll be back to dead level. So that would be nice. But the question really comes in insofar as, obviously, number one, if we do get the win, we jump above you. What would you call a good finish for West Ham this season? Because we've seen a lot from West Ham. You won your European trophy, obviously, last season with David Moyes, which was absolutely amazing. You're looking like you're going to finish there or thereabouts for qualification for another European tour the following season. But yeah, simple question really. Where do you feel success is going to be for your side this season?
Yeah, it's a good question, to be honest. I think recent years has definitely changed that answer as well. Our success over the last 3-4 years has definitely changed the mindset of the players and the fans, and the expectations have risen. So, yeah, I would be thrilled if we could get a 4th consecutive season in Europe. I mean, when was the last time that West Ham did that? So that would be amazing. Whether that happens or not is another matter, because I'm starting to get worried, because selling Benrahma and Fornals on deadline day, when we are 6th at the minute, still in Europe, we don't have the best squad depth it is ludicrous. We now have the joint smallest squad in the league. I think it's with Man City. We've got 22 first team players, which is ludicrous considering what's at stake. Yeah, I think for us this season, I think a good finish. I really don't want to be any lower than 8th. I'd be very disappointed, but I'd also be disappointed if we missed out on Europe. So yeah, I think realistically 8th is the lowest I'd be willing to accept, really. I mean, even though a top 10 finish is still an achievement in this league and the competition is high and people are catching up to us as well, but I would be disappointed if we didn't finish in the European spots for 1 and then any lower than 8th. An absolute must. If you had to push me, I'd say I would be thrilled with 7th. I'd take Conference League again, win it again. Hopefully.
Fair point. So I am going to come back to you with the next question as well. But just before I do, Dave's testing the United fans' knowledge. So we do like to have a little game every now and again. And Dave's providing it today. So can anyone guess the result on Fernandez's debut? He played against Wolves on that debut. I'm trying to recall it.
We beat them 1-0.
I was just about to say 1-0, I think.
I was thinking 1-0. That popped in my head as well.
Yeah, I think we beat them 1-0.
I was thinking 3-1, so I might be the only one that gets this wrong. So, Dave, you're going to have to throw the answer into there because I'm not.
The answer in, Dave. Yeah, I think we beat them 1-0, but I think it was 1-0 the score. But was it 0-0?
Woo! Andrew Moore comes straight in with the it was 0-0. Not even, I think it might be, just a straight up, it was 0-0. That's the end of that. And then Dave goes, yes, you're right, it's 0-0. So there you go. You guys got the 0 bit right. So fair play. Well done. But Jack, I was going to come straight back to you because obviously the one thing that we all share in common is Sir David of Moyes. And I've maintained a lot. I mean, we've spoken at length on this channel about the management mayhem since David Moyes. In fact, we did a whole show on it, which you can go back and watch if you want. It was quite good fun. But not you personally. You can if you want, but I'm talking about anybody else that happens to be watching this with their little eyes. But the question I had for you is what you make of David Moyes, because I've maintained ever since we sacked him, really, that he was sacked too early. We didn't give him enough of a chance. He wasn't given the opportunity to do the project that we brought him in to do. He was given a 6-year contract and out he went. But we've seen him come back and rebuild his career and his reputation with you guys, which I'm really pleased about, to be fair, because he was always a nice enough bloke as well. What do you make of David Moyes and what has he done for West Ham? And do you think that United dropped a clanger really by getting rid of him when they did and not giving him another season to see what he could have done?
Yeah, I'll start off with what I think about the Moyes thing with you. I think you're right. I think sacked definitely too early. I mean, just looking at it, I think it was one of those jobs where whoever comes in as well has got to compete with one of the best managers, if not the best manager of all time. And whoever comes in is going to have one hell of a job. They're never going to replicate that. So the expectations are already so high that it's going to be difficult. But he definitely was sacked too early. I mean, there were some obviously horrific results. Football wasn't great under him. But did he have the squad to do it with? Not really. Like we were saying earlier with Ten Hag. And you can even say that so this is his second spell at West Ham. We sacked him too early. He kept us up, and then we got rid for Manuel Pellegrini. So, and then we came calling back, and then look what he's done. I mean, he has changed West Ham for the better. I think any West Ham fan that's saying he isn't one of our greatest managers is kidding themselves. I think the stuff that he's done for us is amazing, given where we were and the mess we were in. To have 3 seasons of Europe back to back and to have won a European trophy, to win a trophy at West Ham, it's nuts. I was certain I wasn't ever going to see it, or I was going to be like 94 when I did. But yeah, so the memories that he's given us are incredible. He's changed us, like the way we look at players as well. Like some of the signings we've brought in have been fantastic. I think our 2 most important signings in our recent history of Jared Bowen and Thomas Souček. And those were his 2 first signings in his second spell. And long may they stay as well. So, yeah, he's changed it off the pitch as well as on it. I think you can look at our backroom staff now. We've got Tim Stydeen. We took him from Leverkusen. He's our sort of head of, he's like one of our directors, and some of the talent that he's brought in. I think we wouldn't have signed Mohamed Kudus. We wouldn't have signed Alvarez without him. I mean, he's the one that pushed those. He's the one trying to push to keep all our players, to keep Paqueta to stay. He tried to keep Vince Rice to stay, but that was never going to happen. So, just a lot of, or not a lot of, 90% of our success has come down to that man. And you have to credit him for it. I mean, there have been bad results, but every team has their bad results and their bad days. Sometimes they get things wrong, and they're only human. And I think a lot of West Ham fans need to start understanding that, because he has come under quite a bit of stick. I think our fan base is very split at the minute. I think he's going to sign a new contract. I would be happy with that. I know there's quite a vast majority that wouldn't be, but I'm going to say it bluntly, they are probably the ones that, if I'm saying it politely, don't understand football as much. They're the ones that are just they just don't get it. They just they want the attractive football, but they won't take the results. I think football's a results-based game. I prefer to play nice football, but if we win, I don't care. So
exactly right.
It's one of those things. I think our fans need to give him more credit, personally.
I mean, Jarvis has put this here. How do you see West Ham going forward? Is there room for a more progressive manager than Moyes who can take this team even further? Where would you stand with that? You said you're happy with Moyes signing a new contract. Would that be the case, or do you see somebody out there who you think would be a better fit?
So I think with the squad that we have at the minute, I mean, there's always the possibility that that could be the case. I think I know this isn't realistic in the slightest, but like you take someone from Xabi Alonso, for example, there's a very exciting young manager, the stuff he's playing with Leverkusen, then maybe he could do it. But again, that's a risk. And I think Moyes, I'm more than happy to stay with Moyes for the job that he's done. You keep the projects. I don't think the project's finished yet. I think we can still keep going, keep adding to it. We can cement ourselves as one of the teams that are consistently in Europe and are going for trophies. Whereas if we make that gamble and it backfires, then we're back to square one. So I think there definitely is the room for it. It's just whether we're willing to take that gamble. I personally wouldn't be at this moment in time. I think maybe if Moyes signs a new 2-year deal and then come the end of that deal, there's someone that's on the market. Maybe, I don't know if Graham Potter could maybe do it, someone like that. So maybe like I said, Xabi Alonso, someone like that, like a younger forward-thinking manager that knows what they're doing. Then potentially. But as I said, I'm happy with Moyes, and I think he deserves to stay. Personally, he's earned it.
Good stuff. And Dan, for you, I mean, I don't really want to go over the Moyes at United stuff anymore because we've had that conversation, as I said. But Moyes at West Ham, I mean, it's hard to say that he's not doing a good job. I mean, let's not forget he's won I'm going to forget the name of it properly now, is it the Europa Conference League, which I think if you were playing Football Manager would be about level with the Charity Shield that he won with us. So what do you reckon? I'm joking, Jack. I'm joking. But hey,
Trophies are trophy.
I'm not having it.
Yeah.
I think the biggest compliment you can pay Moyes is the fact that, you know, he was a good manager at Everton. He'd done so well. He got the job at United, and everything just kind of went downhill from there. He went to Sociedad. He was doing Sunderland. He had to go abroad to try and rebuild himself, and he's gone to West Ham. And like Jack said earlier, their expectations are so much different now compared to before he took over. Now they're expecting European football back-to-back seasons. They've just won the first European trophy. I think he's doing a great job, and obviously I don't watch a lot of West Ham, so I don't really know. But when I have watched West Ham, I don't think they necessarily play bad football either. I don't think, I think we play worse football sometimes. I don't necessarily think they play too bad a brand of football either. So I think Moyes is doing a great job.
Absolutely. And what's this here? Jarvis has just put Tim Steighton from Leverkusen was a brilliant appointment for West Ham. His track record speaks for itself, a proper sporting director. Stu, I've got a very important job for you because I mean, you can talk about Moyes if you really want to, but on this occasion, I'd rather you didn't, because I have a slightly different take on the David Moyes question for you, because David Moyes famously signed 2 players for Manchester United in his short tenure, one of which was Juan Mata. The other one was the legend that is Marouane Fellaini. And the news came out today that he's finally retired. So I wondered if you might say a little bit about what you thought about those signings on the Moyes point of view, and also Marouane Fellaini and sort of his legend. He became sort of like a cult hero in some respects amongst many Man United fans, but also against quite a few, I thought quite unfairly, a bit of a joke, which was not quite right. So where did you stand on all that?
Yeah, look, I think Juan Mata's been one of the most important players that the Premiership has seen. His days at Chelsea were almost Zola-esque. I'm not saying he can be compared to Gianfranco Zola, but what he achieved on the field is akin to what Gianfranco Zola did for Chelsea. He gave that kind of wizard type play on occasions. I thought he's a terrific player, very small, slight. He's very akin to David Silva today. So those 3 types of players, those 3 players, have been instrumental in the way that teams have played. But he never was able to operate in that way at Manchester United, and he wasn't able to operate that way because he wasn't our first choice, was he? Moyes was after Fabregas. He went out to meet him. The deal was close to being done, and then something happened that we obviously don't know. So I think Matt scored some massively important goals for us, but we had him at the wrong time of his career, and that's always seems to be the case with us when we're certainly buying players. Up until Sanchez, for example, we're having these players at the wrong times of their career. So I thought Mata was a great signing from a personable point of view. He just wasn't able to achieve, I don't think, what he would have wanted to achieve pitch-wise. Fellaini, well, I think Connor's right to an extent. I wouldn't go, call him a donkey and all of this. You don't get to play Premier League football if you can't play the game. But he had his strengths, and his strengths were his ability to chest the ball down. He didn't really have any strengths at a foot level, and he was okay in the air to an extent. And so he used to use his presence, but he was never going to be a player that was going to be what Manchester United fans would want. We've never really had that type of player before. Joe Jordan was probably the closest we had years ago, back in the 70s when I was growing up. And he was just an animal, and I think Fellaini tried to be the modern day Joe Jordan. And before anyone has a go, I know he's not a number 9. That's not what I'm saying. He wasn't a number 9. Oh, you called him the GOAT, did you? Sorry, Connor. Apologise about that, mate. I'm sorry about that. I didn't really look. Sorry, I just saw a 4-legged animal. But I'm not saying that you compare Joe Jordan to Fellaini, but when you look at the physique and the way that he played was great. What made me laugh more about the Fellaini kind of era with us is when Louis van Gaal put him in this what he called a no man's land area, and we scored a couple of goals off it. I think De Gea would ping the ball out to Fellaini, he'd take on his chest, and we may have scored a couple of goals for it. So I don't know whether or not Moyes was interested in Fellaini. I just think Moyes needed signings, and Manchester United needed signings. I think he was a victim, Fellaini, actually, of an incompetent board. I'm not saying, like you say, he was a bad player. I think he's just a victim of an incompetent board. And for me, that's inexcusable. Quick one on Moyes. I've got no issues with what both of the lads have said, actually, about Moyes. I think they're both right. I don't think he's found his level at West Ham at all. A lot of West Ham fans don't like him, want him gone. And Jack's absolutely right. And I'll just say it, Jack, they're morons. They haven't got a clue about football. And this is the trouble with them. They don't actually watch the game. They don't watch what's unfolding between their eyes. They just say, oh, well, we haven't scored today or this or that. There's only one thing that happens in football, and the only way you climb that league is if you win. And if you win by 1-0, 38 games, it's an irrelevance. You can whinge and moan as you like, but the gaffer can turn around and say, I don't care. we won the league. Nobody's interested.
Just going to jump in, Stu, if I just can pause you just for a second, just purely because, as I mentioned right at the beginning, Jack's on his break, and that's very close to ending.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Don't want Jack to get the sack.
No.
That's where we're going here.
Well, my point was, and I'll wrap it up now. My point was
like for your prediction on the result tomorrow. What do you think is going to happen?
Oh, he's got to go. Yeah.
Oh,
I read the chat. Might help.
I think it's a good question, because I remember starting this this call with you guys thinking that we were going to get battered. Now you're starting to convince me that we won't be.
That wasn't what we intended.
Yeah.
Have we done that?
Yeah. It's the defensive record that's done it for me. I think it will be a very tight game. I just feel we don't really get any luck usually at Old Trafford, and I think that's probably going to continue. I think I'm sensing a 2-1 United win. Really, I think.
Yeah, that's what I think.
That's what I'm thinking.
That was my score as well.
Yeah.
My score. And I think we get a pen. It's 2-1 to us. We get a pen.
Yeah.
Bruno.
I'm glad you were able to jump on, Jack. That was really superb. And thank you so much for joining us today. Where can people find you if they wanted to hear more of your ramblings about West Ham?
They can find me on Twitter. My handle is JH_journalism. and they can have my Instagram as well. It's j.hobbs06. So I am on all those platforms, and yeah, I'm more than happy to ramble about West Ham or any football. So been a pleasure, gents. Thank you for having me.
Take care,
all the best for the rest of the season.
Yeah,
and to you, mate. Brilliant. Cheers very much. Cheers, Jack. Take care. And with that, as quickly as he was here, he shall be gone. There you go. Look at that. Like magic. I'm like Harry Potter. Stu, I didn't mean to jump in. Well, I did.
No, you were right. I didn't read the chat. I saw it going up. Yeah, I saw it going up, and then I didn't bother reading it, so it's my fault. All I was going to say was, just to finish off about Moyes, he made the cardinal sin of not allowing Manchester United to develop into him. He tried to develop Manchester United, and if he'd allowed Manchester United to seep into his veins, he may have done a bit better. That's all I was going to say.
I was just going to say about Fellaini as well.
I was just about to ask you as well, Dan, if you had anything to say about Fellaini. We weren't going to mute
the one thing I liked about Fellaini was that he was all arms and elbows and legs everywhere, but he got away with it every time. He'd be elbowing them right in the nose, and there was an art to it. And it was special to watch, but not necessarily in a footballing way.
No, you're right.
I just loved how he tried. You know, he was another one of those who you could never say didn't try his hardest out there on the pitch. He did everything that he possibly could for us. And like I say, I think he was sort of unfairly targeted. He was almost like the Harry Maguire of the Mourinho and Moyes era, I suppose, the Van Gaal one to a degree. So, yes, that was a bit of a shame. But yes, he has retired at last, Marouane Fellaini, and hopefully he will enjoy the rest. Well, listen, we've done pretty much everything. Dan, you said your scoreline was going to be 2-1. Is that what you were thinking?
Yeah, I had 2-1. Yeah, 2-1 United.
Yeah,
I think they'll score from a set piece.
Of course they will. It's bound to only be a set piece, either that or a counter attack where Diego Dallo's somewhere on the penalty spot of the other area, and Casemiro's trying to run back but can't quite get there because his aging legs won't quite get him there, and Harry Maguire's stuck in the middle of the pitch, just wondering what's going on, why they were running at us. Like the scene out of Game of Thrones where the geezer stood there with his sword while they're all coming at him. And we all wonder why it is that, yes, winter is coming. Stu, what are you thinking?
I'm with Dan. I thought 2-1 right at the very beginning. I do think we'll get a penalty. I think Zuma will cause a calamity at some point. He's just got it in him, hasn't he? Every game. But he's, as Dan quite rightly said, there, he's got the ability to pop one in on the other end with his noggin. So we could, stick one in, no problem at all. I think it'll be one apiece for a while, and I just think we'll get the vital goal. I do expect us to win, but it won't be easy at all. I'd love it, by the way, if Danny Ings played. I think your goal's safe there, even if it's empty. I think your goal's safe with Danny Ings, but Kudus is a problem. He worries me. Souček. I like Souček. Yeah, you're right about Akinfenwa. Yeah, no, I agree with that. No, I think you're 100% right. I like Souček. I think Souček's got aerial ability. He's good on the ball with his feet, isn't he, as well, Souček? And I do like Ward-Prowse. People don't raise him. But, do you remember, Wolves? Neves used to turn up. He never used to turn up for the rest of the fucking season, did he? Turn up against us with a 25, or Matinho turn up with a 25-yarder. There's nothing to suggest that Ward-Prowse can't do it. So I think it'll be a really good game, though, guys. That's the thing. I think it'll be a really good game of football. I don't think Moyes. Mick asked me a question, by the way, Baz. Do I think? Good to see you, Mick. Thanks very much, and Jarvis and all the MUFC Realist TV crew. Thanks for tuning in. He said, "Do you think Moyes will park the bus?" I don't think he will. I don't think when you've got a player like Kudus, Kudus himself will allow you to do that as a team. He won't allow you to do it because he's like a live wire, isn't he? And I don't think Bowen will allow it. So I don't think so on this one, Mick.
There you go. Jar was saying for us to win, we need to score first, and he's not overly optimistic. Thinks Moyes will play his traps, be patient, try to punish us. When Moyes feels we are ready for the kill, he'll jump in. Dave, meanwhile, thinks 3-0 United, Højlund, Garnacho and Bruno. So there's no doubting Dave's
wrong with that.
Nothing at all. Georgie Best asking us the question. I starred it because it was one that we're going to throw in at the end because we've done the review pretty much now. Preview, sorry. And he says, may I say I see a young Juan Mata in Pellistri. What do you guys think? Dan, you can have that one. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I do think there is some similarities there, especially the way he carries the ball. And yeah, there's definitely that creativity there. I just worry for Pellistri. I think Ten Hag obviously doesn't fancy him. He was getting limited game time. He's obviously gone to Granada on loan. And I just think similar to Ahmad as well, where I'm wondering what these lads have got to do to get a game, ahead of the likes of Anthony, even Rashford when he's had his off-the-field issues and stuff. For me, Pellistri and Ahmad are two players that I think should be given minutes and should be given chances, and they're not getting them. But to answer the question, I do think there is some similarities between the two, and especially the way they carry the ball, pass the ball, and run with it, definitely.
And Stu, you can have the last word on the show. What do you reckon?
Look, I see Pellistri as a 10 anyway. I don't think he's an out-and-out winger. I think he'd be a better 10. He'll morph into a 10. Mata was a better 10, wasn't he? Let's be honest, an 8 and a 10. There you go. Me and GB, George Best, we agree. I think he's a better 10. And the way that he operates, yeah, Dan was right. Actually, I haven't really got a lot to add to what Dan said, because the way that he controls the ball at his feet, the way that Mata did, and the way that Messi does.
Yeah.
And don't jump on me in the comments, because I'm not comparing the two. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is there are certain players that can carry the ball wonderfully well at their feet. They don't even have to look at what they're doing. He knows where the ball is because he can almost fit. It's touchy-feely with him. George Best was very, very similar, wasn't he, in the way that he attracts. And I think Pellistri will morph into a 10. It'll be a better 10 than... And I think we're playing Pellistri out of position. As for Ahmad, an abundance of skill. I think we'd all agree that, wouldn't we? He needs a chance. He's had a bad injury. I think he's better off, or would have been better off, going and getting a run of games back at Sunderland, personally. Just to get him over the injury.
What Dave's saying here, it's that run of games, isn't it? You look at Maybe, he's won 15 games now, and it's only now in games 13, 14 and 15.
Yeah.
We're really seeing him at the peak of his powers. We saw the potential, which we're talking about in all of these players, but we're really seeing it now.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think if he'd gone out to Sunderland, I think he would have got a good run of games. There are some players that take 10 or 13 games, Baz, to get into a season. I think it's ridiculous, but it does happen. There are players that don't. There are players that need time. And I think with Ahmad, he's not going to get the minutes that he's going to need to develop as quickly, as he should be developing. I think he could be on treacherous ground come the summer, Ahmad. That's just my opinion. I don't think, Dan kind of made that point as well. Where do you go with Pellistri? Where do you go with Alvaro Fernandez, which is at Benfica, for example? Then Isaac Hansen has just gone to Wolfsburg. I think it was Wolfsburg, wasn't it?
Bremen, I think.
Werder Bremen, yeah, sorry, Werder Bremen. Talented footballers. I think we shipped out 10 youth team players, didn't we, or young players in January. The wage bill's clearing. We know what Ineos are looking to do. They're looking to recruit heavily in the summer. There's a big issue there for Ahmad, in my opinion. That's
I'm not sure.
He's a great. Yeah, he's a wonderful 10. He'll morph into a better 10 though. We play him out on the wing, and I think he'll morph into a better 10 there for sure.
Well, there we go. We are expecting to see Mason Mount return at some point, and maybe that's where some people would think
return. Return, Baz. Don't you mean start and actually put a shift in?
I mean, technically, yes, I do. I suppose, yes. In my heart, that's what I think. But technically, it is return. Admiral, you arrived just as we're about to finish. You might want to rewind and start again.
Yeah,
rewind. Remember that, boys, when you used to have to rewind things?
Rewind. Yes,
It was horrible, wasn't it? Especially when you had like a cassette tape and you'd play the song, you wanted to hear the song again, you had to rewind it and stop it at the exact right time. These kids today, they don't know they're born. They really don't. Well, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure once again to have them all. We're going to say thanks again to Jack, even though he's
Jack, brilliant.
Right now. Brilliant speaker, brilliant work. And this is what we love to do at All for United. It's why we're bringing in the opposition fans. It's not because we're trying to be anything we're not. It's just because actually you get a much better discussion, a much better debate when you include both sides of the debate in that respect. So really good to have our opposition fan on today. So thanks for that. Stu, brilliant to have you once again back in the chair. Lovely to see you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure, never a chore. And always a pleasure to have you as well, Danny B. Thank you for joining us. And Mark said very early on, so I did star this one, and I'm glad that I did because that would have been a lot of scrolling to get back through all of those brilliant comments that people have put in today. But when's the review? Well, very simple. The answer to that question is tomorrow night. That's right. We're doing another every Saturday, Sunday at the moment, it seems to be, but that's good. We enjoy that, and it gives us a good opportunity to have that conversation as it's happened, basically. So you'll get a raw emotional response, but it'll still be measured because that's what we do on this channel. So we look forward to seeing you tomorrow night, where hopefully by the end of that show, well, by the beginning of that show, preferably, otherwise the game really has gone on for a long time. But by the beginning of that show, we are sitting pretty in sixth position, 2 points clear of David Moyes and West Ham, and only 6 points away from fifth. We couldn't, could we?
Who'd have thunk it?
Tomorrow.